you. And you know what? It's just you have a routine at the end of the year. And as I was talking to you, I said, this is a perfect podcast. Because I think the mistake people make is they close out the year too early. It's still 225 on December 31st. We have more projects to do. We don't walk away yet.
You know what? That's exactly right. Business isn't closed because it's the end of the year. And, there are clients out there that are working, you're working, I'm working, we're here together, working together, trying to create great things together. And I have a whole year-end routine. You and I touched base on it a little bit, but I take a look at everything that I have done in 2024, what I've accomplished, the things that I thought went really well, the things that I thought didn't go as well. And I make notes of those things. I write them down, I think them through. And I often, when people ask me what my favorite holiday is, I always tell them it's the new year because I am all about constantly reinventing myself, Neil. I am constantly in motion. I am constantly a work in progress. I am committed to making myself better at every opportunity. And I use the new year for that.
And that's a key thing. And I tell you right now, I'm just finishing up projects and getting the year over. But that's good because I want to close those deals so that you close out the business, the work fulfillment, everything, so that you're sitting a clean steak on January 2nd. And the first kind of shut down. And it's been a very crazy 2 weeks, but it's a good way to end the year and make changes. And see, this is the thing that you have to do is constantly evaluate your business all year round, but especially at the end of the year. Which ones are time suckers? What things do you really not want to do again? And don't be afraid to give things up.
Yeah, that's really key. You can't be afraid to let things go. You have to be really ready to move forward in everything. And, sometimes that means, making a team change. Sometimes that means making just an overall, business overhaul. Sometimes it means tweaking something. Sometimes it means going, you know what, this went really well, and I want to continue to do more of this one thing. And so I'm going to put all my focus in on maximizing that. It isn't always just taking things away. Sometimes it's adding to it. But sometimes, like you just said, you have to be willing to let things go. There's no other way.
I don't want to sing the Let It Go song. That would be a good, but that would be for another podcast and everything. And that's the thing. Let things go. And ultimately, at the end of the year, if you'd have told me at the beginning of this year, this would be the end of the year, I'd say to you, you're crazy. But ultimately, it's been a roller coaster ride. But that's entrepreneurship. And if you want to continue to be on that downward slope and not be able to identify when things are going down and stay down, or you make changes.
Yeah, and so you have to be willing to flex and flow. And growth only comes through struggle, right? Growth comes through the pain and the struggle. And it's in the moments. And so let me liken it to this. When you are working out, maybe you're trying to grow muscle, okay? When does the muscle grow? When you're sleeping, right? You eat right, give yourself proper nutrition. You have broken down the muscle and damaged it while you've worked out. When you rest, that's when it repairs. So, and we talked about this on the last episode. Everybody needs to do themselves a favor, take a step back, take a deep breath. There's still work to do. I'm not saying don't work, but make sure that you are taking the time you need to build up so that you're ready for what's coming in 2025. Because Neil, there are big things coming in 2025 for all
It's
of
gonna
us as
it's it's gonna be
entrepreneurs.
it's gonna be the gold rush. It's gonna be the golden age. It's gonna be the amazing thing. And I know this because ultimately, at the end of the day, everyone has a great outlook, and you have to jump on it as quickly as possible. So here's the thing: after you go through that whole outlook, January 2nd hits. Some people still are in New Year's mode. Mistake, right?
You got to run. You got to run. If you're not willing to run, you're going to get left behind. If you're not embracing, new technology, new opportunities, trying to pull in new clients, if you're not out trying to make active sales, you're going to get left behind. If you're not advancing, you're out of the game, and you can't allow yourself to be out of the game. So, and so my father, was a U.S. Marine, and he was in the vicinity when, and I can't remember who said it, but there's an old quote from the Korean War: "Retreat hell," because somebody said that the Marines were retreating out of the Chosin Reservoir. Retreat hell, we're just advancing in the opposite direction. So you have to know when to make a change and when what you're doing is pushing forward, or when you have to shift and go this way or go that way. And when you're paying attention and it's January 2nd and you're running, you can make that shift.
And it could be a shift in how much you work. It should be a shift in certain things. The eureka point came to me when I looked at what am I making an hour every hour? Because ultimately, I'm blessed to sometimes get a really good hourly rate. And it's something I don't think I would ever thought when I was a school teacher. And then there's times where I'm making pennies on the dollar. So you really have to identify those hours and make the right moves. What Scott teaches, and this is the one thing to finish up this podcast and let Scott kind of reiterate this. Scott teaches the first person you need to hire is not an office manager, it's a VA. He is hit it 100%. If I would have known that, all those times I've hired people in every industry from tutoring business, maybe if I would have hired a VA that ultimately would have handled specific things, I could have took on more tutoring clients first, and do group tutoring before I hired tutors, or the same thing before. If you bring somebody on that can take care of those mundane tasks, you're going to be in great shape in the next phase of scaling.
Yeah, you have to stop working in your business and work on your business. And you do that. One of the ways that, like you said, I teach people to do that is through hiring a virtual assistant, hiring a VA that can help take on some of those tasks so that you don't have to spend the time and the effort, because those things are costing you more by having you do them. When you consider your hourly rate, if you're spending time on those tasks, you're not spending time on other revenue generating tasks, which is where, as an entrepreneur, you have to spend your time.
All right. Best place to go, Scott, is.
akataconsulting.com.
All right. That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and the